Hi, Facebook. So this week I am doing a series on talking about the difference between love and lust, and I'm going to continue to follow up with this series in future blogs where I go through the difference between boyfriends and booty calls and how to transition early relationships where typically we're drawn together with our partners due to lust into long-lasting and healthily attached relationships. So what I'm going to use this time for in Facebook Live is basically I'm just going to read the blog that I posted earlier in the week, because I understand that all of us have different learning styles, and some of us prefer to listen or watch versus read. I'm certainly one of those. So if that's you, this is for you today then. So today's blog that I'm going to read is titled, Is It Love or Is It Lust? When I was 18 years old, I thought I would marry every boy I dated in an elaborate ceremony fit to rival Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's royal wedding. This is true, by the way. I was embarrassed to admit that I even imagined my new last name and practiced writing it just to see how it looked on paper. You can't even imagine how many last names I had. I usually began daydreaming this future within the first 30 days at the beginning of the relationship. I think we can pretty much all agree that I was markedly confused about the difference between love and lust. As an adult, I look back on my youthful ignorance and infatuations with a mixture of amusement and regret. But as a sex therapist, I find that many of my clients continue to struggle with this timeless debate. Is it love or is it lust? So first, to make this distinction, we really need to create a common definition. And for the purposes of the discussion today, I'm going to define love as a commitment to and acceptance of another person despite of an awareness of his or her shortcomings. In contrast, love, also known as limerence, I like that word, it sounds pretty, is defined by psychologist Dorothy Tennov as the state of being infatuated or obsessed with another person, typically experienced involuntarily and characterized by a strong desire for reciprocation of one's feelings, but not primarily for a sexual relationship. So this is really that state of just like, I can't stop thinking about this person. You might have a lot of intrusions of thoughts. You might get butterflies. You might just kind of have that state of permagrin, where every time you think about your partner, you just kind of smile. According to Tennov, a primary component of limerence is the minimization of the faults of the other. So simply stated, lust is blind, but love is not, because in our definition of love, we love someone in spite of their shortcomings. Therefore, we have to recognize what they are. So understanding that lust is blind is really paramount when we're deciding if a relationship has long-term potential. Since we've already established that lust clouds judgment and objectivity, how can someone in the state of lust really make logical relationship choices? So I've given you kind of a 3-step checklist, and there's certainly other things that we could add here, but these 3 are really going to help you to determine whether or not this relationship is something that you want to continue to invest time in. So first, has the relationship lasted longer than 6 months? If it has, then what you're going to notice is that the honeymoon period is going to start to wane or diminish. And that's normal. Every relationship goes through that process, and that's how it should happen. After that, if the relationship has not lasted more than 6 months, then you really need to be concerned that you are possibly still under the influence of lust, and therefore your objectivity is really in question. Number 2, does your partner have supportive relationships outside of you? If yes, then what that means is that your partner is capable of creating and maintaining relationships when not in this state of lust or infatuation, which bodes well for a long-term partnership. If no, that's something that you should pay attention to and be aware of. Is it a deal breaker? No, but it's something that you want to understand. Why doesn't my partner have relationships outside of me, and what happened to bring him or her to this place? 3, And the final one that I'm going to talk about today is, does your partner have stability in major life domains? So what that means is, does your partner have housing? Does your partner have consistent income? Excuse me. Is your partner in and out of jail? Kind of a consistent employment history? Those are all good indicators that your partner can contribute to the relationship in an equal or reciprocal manner. So if your partner lacks stability, what that means is that you may be used as a crutch or to rescue, and that has negative implications for long-term success. Okay, so what I want you to do is notice that the questions that I just asked you to consider don't really speak to the quality of the relationship between the two of you. Certainly this is important. So if you're constantly arguing, if your partner is unkind to you, if your partner is violent, those are all things you want to pay attention to. But what we've already discussed is that lust really minimizes the faults of your partner, and so it's very easy in those early stages to rationalize, justify. So that for that reason, I don't want you to consider the quality of the relationship because your objectivity is in question. All right. So if you've completed the checklist with two indicators of, sorry, I'm going to move the camera around, two indicators that of no, meaning your partner is not stable or your partner doesn't have relationships outside of you. Again, it's not that this is a deal breaker. It's that I want you to pay attention to these things. Try to understand how your partner got there today. Maybe he doesn't have supportive relationships because he grew up in an abusive home and made poor peer decisions throughout his life. Okay. So is this a time where he's trying to start over and kind of recreate himself? Maybe she just relocated to the area and her new job didn't work out. Well, that sucks, but certainly life happens. So my encouragement to those of you listening to this today is really to avoid making major life decisions during that first 6 months. Enjoy one another, but don't do things like move in together, combine finances, get married, introduce new partners to your children. Until after that 6-month period when your decision making becomes a little bit clearer and you're better informed. And as I already stated in future live broadcasts, I'm going to be going over the other blogs that I'm going to continue on this series. Look forward to talking to you then. Bye.